What's going on, guys? Welcome back to TheSlamDuncan YouTube channel. It is draft day, and honestly, I can't believe it. This offseason, it creeped up on me fast, and I'm shocked that it's draft day. But I'm very excited for not just draft day, but the entire offseason. But this is definitely one of those days where you're going to see a lot of stuff happening. A lot of transactions are going to be made, and I can't wait for it all. But this video is going to be my Bulls 2022 NBA draft preview. And in this video, I want to kind of go over a couple of things to make sure we're all on the same page with some stuff. I want to talk about my opinion on what the Bulls are going to do. Whether that's keep the pick or trade the pick. Who could they potentially pick at number 18? And then I want to talk about some things when it comes to like the salary cap and like what maybe the Bulls were thinking when making some decisions here. And kind of just predict all around what I think is going to happen for the Bulls in this draft. But before we get into it all, make sure you hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. To all you new subscribers, I really appreciate it. I also appreciate you guys liking my most recent videos, so I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. My goal is to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year, and you guys are helping me reach that goal, so I really do appreciate it. And last thing, I said that my next video, or in my previous video, I said that the next video would be about DeAndre Ayton and potentially him going to the Bulls. I will get to that later. I don't exactly know when, but it might be released later today. It might be released after the draft and after I cover the draft, but I will be getting to that before free agency hits. Just be on the lookout for that. It's going to focus on DeAndre Ayton, but it's more focusing on signing trades when it comes to stuff like that for the Bulls. So just be on the lookout for that. So I apologize. I said that video would be next, but it's going to be a little bit later here. But let's talk about the Chicago Bulls and the 18th overall pick for this 2022 NBA draft here. And we need to go over a couple of things because there is some big confusion going on and I don't really know why or what's really happening here. First things first, just overall, there's only 58 picks in this draft. Usually there's 60, but as you can see right here, forfeited picks because of tampering rules and punishments. As we all know, the Bulls were unfortunately a part of this, but they did not forfeit a pick this year. They could, but right now, as things stand, they do not forfeit a second round pick this season. The Bulls do not have a second round pick, not because of the punishment from the Lonzo Ball tampering thing, but it's because they traded this pick. All right, so the Bulls do not have a second round pick this year, so they'll be looking for something in the second round, or waiting for the Bulls to pick in the second round. But they could potentially trade for a second round pick. If they do, then they forfeit that pick. But I also think something else could happen here, and I'll get to that in a little bit. The Bulls have the 18th overall pick, so that's the main thing you should be looking at. Number 18, pretty much kind of in the middle of the draft. We'll see who is available at that point. But last but not least, it's this. This is the part that I think I don't know why this is so confusing. The Bulls can trade this pick. I know people are like all up in arms with the Stepien rule, and yes, I'm very aware of the Stepien rule. I think a lot of people are. But it is perfectly legal for the Chicago Bulls to trade this pick. The Bulls have to make the pick, so whether that's them calling up and saying to another team, hey, you can have 18, we'll pick for you at number 18, whoever you want, or they make the pick and then call up another team and trade that pick or trade whoever they picked away. Basically, the Bulls just have to make the pick, but they can agree to a trade pre-draft about the 18th overall pick. They do not have to be set in stone on having to make the pick, and then they can go talk to teams. They can agree to a trade with another team that involves the 18th overall pick before the draft even starts. They just can't report anything to the league office because that would then technically fall under Stepien rule, right? But it is perfectly legal for the Chicago Bulls to be shopping around this pick. They just have to technically make the pick, okay? I want people to understand that. I don't know why people are very confused on that because I understand the Stepien rule. We do not have our next year's pick because that's in the Vucevic trade, but we have this year's pick, and it is perfectly legal to trade it, especially on draft day, okay? So I want people to understand that is totally fine. Now, this draft here, I will say that this draft, it at least what people are saying, it looks like it's to be one of those deeper drafts, and I actually agree with that statement. I definitely think you can find some pretty decent talent, maybe even like early second round. And there is a lot of guys that look to be NBA type players. Definitely, I wouldn't say stars, but they can definitely come in and have some pretty lengthy NBA careers, even guys in the second round here. So it is interesting to kind of think about that. I've also heard this about drafts before, and then like it's a horrible draft. So I don't really know what to say. There's also like no Zion in this draft. The top 3 are kind of, set in stone, but who's going number 1? We have no clue. So I think it's going to be Jabari Smith because that's all the reports are saying, but there was talk about Chet or even Banchero being number 1. Now let's get to what I think is going to happen here for the Chicago Bulls. As I said, the Bulls had number 18, and they can also trade the pick. In my opinion, I think the Bulls are very much looking to trade this pick. And the reason being is that while this is a deep draft, I don't think there is really somebody that the Bulls look at and are like, yes, we want this person specifically because we think that they could potentially turn into something very, very good down the road. Not saying all-star. I'm just saying, starter level that is, or, maybe borderline all-star, right? I don't think they see someone in this draft that is like, yes, that's what it's going to be. Because it is interesting to kind of look at it, but, usually it's freshmen to go early, but you can see some sophomores in here already. We have a senior right here at number 18 for the Bulls. Like, it's just, there are some guys that look like they can definitely help right now, but what are they really going to turn into later down the road? And if you're the Bulls, if you're picking in this year's draft because you're in a win now mode, you're thinking about win now, but you're also then thinking of how can I help this team in the future. And I don't know how much Karnisovas really wants to be thinking of, a couple years down the line right now because he's in win now mode. So, in my opinion, I think the Bulls are already shopping this pick. It's already been rumored that they're shopping this pick, and they're actually trying to see if they can get some ready now help on this team with this 18th overall pick. Here's another thing to think about. We just saw Christian Wood get traded to the Dallas Mavericks with, 26? Yeah, 26 overall pick. That seems very cheap for Christian Wood. The rest of the guys, they're salary fillers, no disrespect to them. But it was basically just Christian Wood for the 26 overall pick for the Houston Rockets. That's nuts, in my opinion. And we saw a big trade today that Jeremy Grant's getting traded to the Portland Trailblazers, but all the Pistons got in return was a 2025 protected pick that is owned by the Milwaukee Bucks, or that is determined by the Milwaukee Bucks. So that's the Bucks pick in 2025, which they'll still have Giannis, that the Pistons just got in return for Jeremy Grant, which, in my opinion, it looks to be a pick that's not very good. So that's the part that I'm looking at this, and I'm like, I think the Bulls can really get some serious value with this 18th overall pick, because we just saw some trades that only involved one first-round pick happen, and there is a significant value in return. So I think the Bulls, in their best interest, they're looking at potentially getting guys maybe on expiring deals, or they're going to rebuilding teams and saying, hey, we'll take on this salary of a player that is on contract for multiple seasons, and then here's a first-round pick in return. So I think that's something that the Bulls should definitely be looking at. And in my opinion, I think at the end of the day, whether it's the Bulls making a trade now or before the draft starts, or during the draft, or even after the draft, when it comes to the pick, I do think the Bulls will eventually trade this pick. I also won't be shocked, though, if the Bulls do trade this pick, that they somehow get another pick in return. And I'll get to that in just a second, because like I said earlier, the Bulls, if they do trade for a second-round pick, it will be forfeited. But I'll explain how the Bulls can make a second-round pick without actually getting a second-round pick, right? That's just my opinion on what the Bulls are going to do with number 18, because it is interesting to kind of think about how Christian Wood and Jeremy Grant just got traded. But there is a little hiccup here, and it's this. The Bulls are over the salary cap, and they have to act over the salary cap. If you count all the cap holds, they're looking to be like $170 million currently. Now, cap holds don't count against the cap, but you have to keep in mind that the Bulls don't have the ability just to trade a pick for a player in return, because they're basically over the cap with their current situation, especially if Levine resigns, right? So it's hard for the Bulls to even get a player in return because they're over the cap for that first-round pick. So the player that everyone's talking about is Kobe White, and I do think Kobe White will be off this roster for next season, and I do think he'll be traded very soon. But when it comes to Kobe White, he's only making $7.4 million, and that's not a lot of money when you look at today's NBA game. And $7.4 million, that falls into this category right here. So that means that at max, the Bulls If you add $5 million to 7.4 is 12.4, obviously. So the most salary that the Bulls can take back if they trade the first round pick and Kobe White would be $12.4 million in salary. So it's not a lot, because obviously Jeremy Grant makes $20 million. We just saw Christian Wood. Actually, I think Christian Wood makes a pretty cheap amount of money, but I don't even know if his contract falls into this type of situation. So it's a bit limited when it comes to the Bulls trading, Kobe White and the 18th pick right now, which leads me to this. When a team makes a pick, they don't have to sign that player immediately. They just own their draft rights. So what I won't be shocked if the Bulls do this, I won't be shocked if this actually happens, is the Bulls, they might make a pick. They might be already be talking to some other teams that are interested in whoever player. So they might make a pick. They won't sign that rookie to a contract yet, because once then the offseason hits, you might see that pick, whoever it was, that player, attached to some other player, whether it's sign a trade, whoever, and then sent off in a different package. You're allowed to do that. So people kind of think if we're going to trade the pick, we have to trade it on draft night. That's not the case. You can actually make this pick, hold on to that guy for a little bit, and then send him to another team later in the offseason if you don't want to keep him. That is perfectly legal. So I won't be shocked if the Bulls do something like that. So, don't get too hyped whoever the Bulls pick tonight. Pick tonight. You're seeing this on Thursday. So it's just something to keep in mind, because this is definitely a play that I feel like AK can definitely try to figure out. So it is interesting to kind of think about it that way, because obviously Kobe White and his contract is not that big, can't bring much salary back. But let's say then you kind of figure some things out, sign and trade with Kobe White, maybe a Derrick Jones Jr. Now all of a sudden you have more salary to trade out, and that means more salary you can take back. You attach that pick with it. Now you got some other deal, right? So it's interesting just to kind of think about that. If the Bulls are going to trade it on draft night, I think it's going to be an Vucevic trade. I really do. Because I don't really see anyone else here that is tradable besides maybe Marco. I think Javonte Green's here to stay. Io is on a non-guaranteed deal. So I don't see really anyone else getting traded, because I don't think Kobe White brings in the type of person AK wants to bring in, because of his salary is too small. So that's just something to think about. I do think the Bulls will eventually trade this pick. We'll see when it happens, though. But who knows? Maybe the Bulls decide to actually trade up with Kobe White and the 18th overall pick, which I won't be opposed to either. Now, let's talk about this here. I said that I think the Bulls might trade for a second-round pick, but as I said earlier, if they trade for a second-round pick, then their pick is forfeited, right? Because that's the punishment. Now, they might just do that just to get the punishment out of the way, so you don't have to worry about forfeiting a future second-round pick, which is also a decent idea. But what is also an option is this, and I just kind of hinted at this, that maybe the Bulls are calling up a team, we're like, hey, we want this person, we'll make a trade with you, but that team makes the pick, right? And then they'll trade that player to the Bulls, right? So the Bulls technically didn't make the pick in the second round because it's not their pick, right? But then they can that team will then trade that person to the Bulls after the draft, or basically right after the pick is made. It's a little way to sneak around that punishment of, we have to forfeit our next second round pick, right? So I won't be shocked if that happens either. And honestly, I kind of think our AK might do that, because we saw that AK is willing to stay in the second round, or willing to get guys in the second round, obviously with Io last season, Marco the previous season. So I won't be shocked if AK is like, hey, this guy fell to the second round, let's make a trade with this team. Obviously, we can't trade for the pick, but they'll make the pick for us, they'll trade that player to us later, then we got our dude. So it's just stuff to just keep in mind when it comes to this type of stuff. Couple guys that the Bulls are potentially looking at if they keep the pick, which, there is a pretty decent argument for keeping the pick. I don't know this guy's name. I'm going to say Oche, or O'Shea. I apologize, but he is a shooting guard from Kansas Senior. He's a senior, but he's a very good shooter. And the Bulls obviously need 3-point shooting. Maybe they get it in the draft, so that kind of makes sense. He's also 6'6", so probably play multiple positions, which is pretty good. I pulled up all these mock drafts, and this is Jake Laravia. I hope I'm saying that correctly. I don't know too much about him, but I don't think he's actually going to be going this high, because mock draft, or NBA Draft Net, their mock draft has him going much later. So it's interesting just to kind of look at that. We'll see what happens, right? In CBS Sports mock draft, Johnny Davis, which is another player that I've kind of heard about when it comes to the Bulls drafting some guys. He sounds very interesting as well. He's also a sophomore, so he's a little bit younger. But one of the things that I'm looking at is how will he fit on this team. I don't know how he fits on this team being a 6'6", 196 dude. Doesn't seem like he kind of fits, but we'll see. But in my opinion, my guy, at least for me, is E.J. Liddell. I think the Bulls have worked out with him. It's been confirmed. But Liddell kind of seems like the perfect in-between when it comes to the Bulls. Because obviously they're trying to win now, right? But I'm always for me, my mindset when it comes to draft is always best player available. So I think Liddell kind of fits in where it's like he's able to help now, but he also has a pretty bright future because I can see this guy having a really good career if the Bulls decide to keep him or decide to pick him. But main thing with Liddell is this. He's 6'7", but he's 245. He can play, I think, the center in today's game. He is extremely explosive with his jumping ability. He's also very, very powerful, very strong. So I think he can handle, when Donovan wants to go to that small lineup. He can also, I think, play the 4 very easily. And big thing that he is working on is his three-point shot, which he raised to the 37% in his last year in college at Ohio State. I think that makes a lot of sense for the Bulls, as he's mostly probably going to be standing in the corner for offense, but his value really comes on the defensive end as being able to switch, being able to come and help on and contest layups, help protect the paint. But also, if we keep Vucevic, which I don't think is going to happen, but whoever's at center, he's going to really help if he plays the power forward position. So I think that's the person that I would really be looking out for, at least just in my opinion, when it comes to the NBA draft for the Chicago Bulls, if they're keeping the pick, which again, I think the Bulls are going to be trading that pick somehow. I don't know how, but it could be in multiple different ways. But in the end, I do think the Bulls will be trading that pick. So that's basically my NBA draft preview. I don't have a lot here because I don't want to invest too much time into looking into prospects. The only prospect I really invested a lot of time in was E.J. Liddell. Another player that I do like that I spent some time looking at is Eason, but I do think Eason is going to be going probably lottery. He's projected to go 15 here. I think he's going lottery, so I don't think he will be available at number 18 if the Bulls want him. And the reports have already come out saying that the Bulls aren't exactly in love with what they see at number 18, and that makes a lot of sense to me because I don't really love anybody either. I see guys that can be NBA players, but what really are they going to turn out to be? Because it's kind of hard to gauge. And unfortunately, I don't really see anybody besides like the top 3 that can really become something really good in the NBA. Again, there's always the Giannis in a draft, right, or the Kawhi Leonard, but I don't really see that currently. I think E.J. Liddell is kind of that perfect mix, but we'll see. But that's just my opinion at the end of the day. But again, it's going to be interesting to see what the Bulls do, because I think AK is definitely in win-now mode. I think he's very willing to move Kobe White. Maybe he gets a player on the third year of his rookie deal that can come in and help immediately with that pick, but who knows? It's just going to be interesting to watch. So that's it for basically this draft preview. I don't have much, honestly. I honestly think the Bulls are going to be trading this. I don't know to where, who, or for what, but I do see that this pick right here has become extremely valuable all of a sudden to a lot of NBA teams, because we just saw Christian Wood get traded for the 26th pick, and Jeremy Grant got traded for a future 2025 first round pick that I don't think is going to be that valuable. So number 18, I think rebuilding teams were going to want this a lot. So Pacers, Rockets, who knows? But I can see the rebuilding teams wanting that pick, and I'm pretty sure AK is going to be talking to them. But that's all I have for you guys in this video. Hope you guys kind of enjoyed my little rant or whatever you want to call it. I don't even know what this video is. I just think the Bulls will be trading it, and I kind of explain why. But just before I end this video, I will say this. I'm releasing this video early for a reason, because I don't want, the Bulls to do a move and then this video comes out later and it's already old news, right? So if the Bulls do happen to make a move, whether that's midnight or the Thursday morning, I'm sorry. I will still be releasing this video, but hopefully it doesn't happen. But I'm hoping that I'm able to get this video out before the Bulls make a move, or maybe they won't make a move, but I think you're going to see potentially a move with this pick before this draft starts. So that's all I have for you guys in this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.